Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Five Rounds Podcast, the only podcast out there with the cardio for those deep water championship rounds. I am Mags, and I have just finished watching UFC Fight Night, Santos versus Walker from the UFC Apex. Let's quickly run through these prelims. Quite a few prelims on the card. So we started with Alejandro Perez getting the second round sub against Johnny Eduardo in the bantamweight division. Then we skipped to the women's bantamweight division where Stephanie Egger got a second round knockout with a glorious spinning elbow against Shanna Young. Back to the men's bantamweight. And we got Douglas Silva de Andrade getting the first round KO of Gaetano Pirello. Jumping up to the lightweight division, we had Jamie Malarkey getting the second round KO of Devontae Smith. Going back to the women's bantamweight, and we got a unanimous decision for Carol Rosa over Betch Correira. Betch, who at post-fight retired from MMA, and then going down to the women's flyweight division after last week's victory for her sister. Unfortunately, Antonina Shevchenko was unable to emulate that, losing to the unbeaten Casey O'Neill via second round TKO. And then we finished the prelims with Jared Gordon getting the decision against Joe Selecki. So this card started out with Alexander Hernandez making his comeback against Mark Breeden. Mark Breeden taking the fight on essentially last minute notice, and part of the same group of guys who form like almost a super camp with Alexander Hernandez. Essentially, the person who was cornering Alexander Hernandez is also cornered by the same person who was cornering Matt Breeden. But this was Alex Hernandez and his comeback after injury. Started off hot in the UFC and then kind of like tapered off, but looking to get back in the win column, and he did with pretty much ease throughout this fight. Breeden started to open up with leg kicks. Hernandez fired back and was unsuccessful, but you could tell he was much more the rounded fighter. Hernandez shot for a takedown to try and quell the aggression of Breeden, which was quickly stuffed, but he lands a huge right and a leg kick. Goes for another takedown, but he's stuffed again, and then Hernandez lands a big shot, which knocks the mouthguard out of Matt Breeden. Matt Breeden's wobbling, his eyes glaze over. Breeden tries to cover up, throwing his own style of haymakers, and then the big overhand right catches Breeden on the back of the ear, goes straight to sleep. Hernandez does a walk-off, knowing that the fight was over. Mark Smith calls it, and within the first round, Alexander Hernandez has got back in the win column. Great victory for him. And then after that, we move into Misha Shirkinov versus Krzysztof Jotko in the middleweight division. Misha dropping down from 205, looks a lot healthier at 185. Looked like he could really do some damage at this division. Unfortunately, he didn't show it in this fight, and in fact both guys didn't really show what they can normally do in a fight. Very nervy, very few significant strikes between the pair of them. The first round was, I think there was about 40 shots thrown altogether by both guys. Misha, for someone who's come down from light heavyweight and it was known for being able to stand and bang with the best of them, he was incredibly gun-shy. And one thing I noticed all the way through this fight is when he went in for his own shots, he was ducking down a lot and kind of trying to getting close against Jotko and lock him up in a grapple rather than land his own shots. When Jotko was landing, he was the person who landed the much bigger shots. The there was quite a few issues with Jotko grabbing the fence. Obviously, we know Misha is very, very handy on the ground, and all the way through the fight, he actually went for around 20 takedowns. Landed about 6 maybe all the way through. The second round, he certainly had a lot of time on the ground. He was able to control the fight, and this was actually the first time that Misha had gone into a second round since 2016. Absolutely amazing. But the first round I would give to Jotko. Not a lot of action, not a lot of big shots, but I raised the thing. Leaning towards Jotko. The second round was certainly much more in the frame of Misha Shirkinov. He landed the takedowns. He landed the probably the biggest shots in terms of punches. But nothing really damaging outside a big leg kick going towards the end of the fight, which I'm actually surprised he didn't try and do more of. Really shocking that was probably his strongest part of his arsenal, and he only threw it very sparingly. Going into the third round, Misha went straight away for the single leg, ends up finally getting it. Jotko is able to get back to his feet. Misha is able to keep bringing him down, and then we keep going up and down, with Jotko eventually getting back to his feet, able to spin out and throw some wild punches, which Misha is able to duck under and get a takedown. But again, we're not on the floor for that long, and we're straight back up. But then Jotko went for the takedown, and whilst that got stuffed, he was then the one actually taking control in terms of in terms of the grappling up against the fence. And then as we circle away, we see that Misha complains to the referee, Herb Dean, who controversially stopped the action for an eye poke. On analysis of the replay, it actually looked like there was no eye poke there, and Jotko actually started getting very irate about it, and was essentially calling Misha Shirkinov a liar to Herb Dean. Herb was trying to get him to go back to his own corner, and Jotko was having absolutely none of it. But eventually the fight restarts with about a minute or so to go. Jotko goes for the takedown, gets stuffed, but lands a few big shots. Shirkinov against used that tactic of ducking down to swing his punches so he could get in close to get the tie up, and we end up seeing that going towards the end of the fight, nobody was really landing much until the very last few seconds when Jotko secured a takedown, which for me probably ended up securing him the round and the victory. And the judges were incredibly split on who won this fight. One judge giving it 29-28 to Misha Shirkinov, but the winner 29-28 from the other two judges, Krzysztof Jotko. Good victory for him. Very laboured though, and both guys are certainly capable of much better performances. So going into the third fight on the card, well, on the main card, we had Cowboy Alex Oliveira taking on Nico Price. Now, these two are known for absolutely knockout power, finishing fights pretty quickly. So it was actually a shock that this fight went all the way through the 15 minutes. Oliveira started pretty brightly, started very bouncy. We see a trading of leg kicks. Charles Oliveira's legs, his quads are absolutely ginormous. We see the first round seems to be very tentative. Both guys realise that the other has that amazing knockout power, and whilst they are looking for their own big shots to finish the fight, are not really willing to put themselves in the danger of getting finished themselves. So we see a very, very kind of cagey first round, a lot of clinches, a lot of one shots and outs almost. We see Nico Price try and bully Oliveira towards the fence, but then Oliveira is able to reverse it and get a trip. But that ends up being Nico Price's in control, because the momentum keeps him rolling. He ends up actually on top in full guard before moving into half guard. We see a lot of jostling for position, not really any kind of a tie up of submissions, and referee Mark Smith he sees Oliveira's toes in the cage, yanks them out. The first round ends with Nico Price in full control, but certainly wasn't the kind of fight that we were expecting from these two. Second round, a lot more kind of feinting, a lot more of tentative shots rather than anything that's going to do much damage until Oliveira catches a Price kick, and then is able to drag him down to the floor. Nico Price tries to get submission, and we see some really cool grappling and counter grappling on the floor, where Oliveira is landing some ground and pound. Nico Price is going for Kimuras and then going for leg locks and heel hooks. Oliveira's doing enough to avoid that danger. He avoids an up kick halfway through the round. Nico Price incredibly active off his back essentially, but when he does throw shots, he puts all his effort into it, and he leaves himself very, very vulnerable. Oliveira ends that round on top, and going into the third round, essentially it's all to play for both fighters. Shocking that actually this has got to the third round, but this is where we're at, and we see it ends up being pretty much starting as a slugfest. We see lots of big shots by both guys, but Price seems to be getting the better of Cowboy Oliveira here. Cowboy seems to be very, very tired, seems to be slowing down a lot more. Price is certainly pushing the pace, and he's definitely got much better cardio in this fight than Alex Oliveira. We see Oliveira get knocked backwards with a punch. Essentially, with a minute to go, both guys are absolutely swinging for the fences. Oliveira ends up grappling with Nico, pushing him towards the fence. Price shows that he's certainly got the better cardio and certainly got the better energy now, as he's able to reverse that grapple and then essentially push Oliveira to the floor. Gets on top control, landing some big shots as the bell goes. All three rounds ended with one fighter or the other in control on the ground, but the judges all give it 29-28 to a deserved winner, Nico Price. Going into the co-main event, Kevin Holland, who absolutely made a huge name for himself last year, winning 5 on the bounce. Basically, him and Chimaev were two of the biggest stars of 2020. Unfortunately, Kevin Holland has gone on a little bit of a hard run, lost to some big name fighters like Derek Brunson, and he saw this fight against Kyle Dorcas, whose brother did really well last week. He saw this fight as maybe a chance to get back in those win books, get back in the top 10, get his chance to perhaps get another big fight out of it. And as always with Kevin Holland throughout this fight, which only went 3 minutes 45 maybe. You could hear him chatting away to Daniel Cormier, commenting on Daniel Cormier's commentary, which is absolutely funny. When, for instance, there was a time when Cormier said, that Carl Dorcas was had a long body, and Kevin Holland said, "Oh yeah, it's so long." And there was another time when he says about, "Oh Daniel, do you think my wrestling's better?" But this is still a fighter who's very, very dangerous in there, even though he doesn't always show the fighter he's got his full concentration. He's always looking for that big shot. He spent a lot of time hooking Carl Dorcas up against the fence. Was able to very, very much outpower Dorcas, landing some foot stomps. Just keeping Dorcas tight up against the fence. Eventually, Dan Merglotter breaks the fighters up, saying that Holland wasn't doing enough work. And as the two came back together to exchange, there's a huge clash of heads, and essentially the side forehead of Carl Dorcas lands clean on Kevin Holland's chin. Holland goes out, like literally knocked out, face plants. The face plant actually wakes him up, and we see that Mergliotta is looking to maybe stop the fight, but when he sees Kevin Holland get back up and try and recover, he waves the fight to continue, but also waves the referees and to set up the replay. We see Sean Shelby scrambling to look at the footage, and eventually what happens in the octagon is that Dorcas gets hold of Kevin Holland in a guillotine. We see Holland scrambling, and you could tell that there was something very badly wrong with Kevin Holland. He eventually he gives up his back, and Dorcas gets the standing rear naked choke. It takes a while for Dorcas to get the finish. Kevin Holland has got a hell of a lot of heart, but unfortunately he has to tap. We assume that then is a win for Carl Dorcas, but like I said, Dan Merglotter, he calls to look at the replay. First he speaks with one of the doctors, and it looks like he's indicated that maybe he will now give the fight as a win to Carl Dorcas. Then afterwards we see him conversing with some of the other referees, including head referee Herb Dean, who informs him that if you feel that something is off, there's absolutely no issue whatsoever in calling this a no contest. And I think that kind of puts Dan's mind at ease that he's making the right decision. He does call it a no contest. And we get a little bit of fun and games in the octagon when Bruce Buffer is at the wrong side of the camera, so the fighters and the referee turn around only for Bruce to scoot around him, and we get a little bit of fun with Dan Merglotter saying, "Bruce, is it you that's been knocked out, or was it Kevin?" But yeah, essentially this fight is waved off as a no contest. Both guys in the octagon agree that they want to run this back. And hopefully we'll get to see that, because I think it was a shame of how it ended. A very, very vicious clash of heads. Nobody at fault at all. Looking at the replay, nobody was making eye contact with anyone, so it was just a very sad state of affairs. But unfortunately these things happen, and hopefully both fighters are quickly passed to run this back, because I think this fight definitely deserves some sort of finality. So going on to the main event, the fight that this card was based around, Johnny Walker and Thiago Santos, both big names in that light heavyweight division, both Brazilians, both very passionate fighters. Thiago Santos, former title contender, has beaten the current champion Jan Blachowicz before, but also in the final fight on his contract. He's had a rough time of it recently in terms of results, and he's going up against Johnny Walker, one of the most charismatic fighters in the light heavyweight division. Someone who really got the ire of 5 rounds when he won a fight and then went to do kind of like a caterpillar dance move in the octagon and end up injuring himself and taking him out for the next 6 months or so. But you can't fault the guy's passion and love for MMA. Unfortunately, the fight didn't really, for me, live up to what it should have done. These two guys are known for ending fights in the first round, and Johnny Walker has never ever seen past a 3rd round fight. So to see this actually go to the judges was quite a shock, really. Quite different to how you would have thought that a fight between these two would have gone down. But it was a very, very, very cagey first round. Santos was doing a hell of a lot of movement, but not throwing much of anything. It took nearly 2 minutes for the first real big shot to go, which was a head kick. But that ended up being blocked by Johnny Walker. We see a lot of kind of stance switching and bouncing around from both guys. And eventually we see some shots thrown, but very, very few. The shots that were thrown were big, were hard shots, but just nothing, no setups for them, no kind of follow-ups. It was just ones and outs, and just seems that both fighters were incredibly nervy about losing. Obviously, Santos very worried about it being the last fight on his contract, and Johnny Walker really wanted to push back into those upper echelons of the light heavyweight division. A little bit more action here in the second. We see Santos go for a takedown, which is not able to land. We see both guys going on a bit of a wild exchange and landing a couple of shots, but then we see Santos going back to that bouncing on his feet, switching stances. Walker catches a leg kick of Santos, but just lets it go and throws a leg kick of his own. We see a huge body kick by Thiago Santos, but Johnny Walker just eats it and essentially finger wags Santos, but Santos fires back and gives him another one. But Johnny Walker just keeps eating it, keeps not reacting, not showing any pain, and then he starts to kind of almost stalk Santos while Santos is backing off. Buzzer goes. And we're going into a third, very, very tight, very razor thin to call, just because of the lack of action. Again, we start with leg kicks from both guys. Then Santos again goes for that high kick, which is blocked yet again. Walker goes for a huge punch, which is it misses. And we then see Santos land a left hand, which kind of like shows he was settling down into the fight. Kind of, he was finding his groove a bit more. Walker was still kind of bouncing around and trying to press the action, but not landing a lot of huge shots. Santos was able to keep backing away, circling out of Walker's range, but still landing the leg kicks on the way out. Yet again, we go for another head kick from Santos. Yet again, it gets blocked. Then we get into the fourth round, and again, like I said, this was uncharted territory for Johnny Walker. Santos has obviously been here before with the fight with Bones. And you could tell that Santos knew what he was doing in these deep water championship, or not even championship rounds in the terms of this fight, but main event rounds. He starts throwing more of those leg kicks and head kicks again. The head kicks were pretty much blocked every single time, but he started throwing a lot more. Tried a flying knee, which whilst it didn't land, it still showed his range of attack. Johnny started moving a lot more kind of dynamic, a lot kind of almost Clay Guida-esque in terms of just craziness, throwing leg kicks. Went for a haymaker which just missed. Landed some big combinations, but Santos is able to check the leg kicks, landed some combinations of his own. We see then Johnny Walker doing some silly dancing, some posturing. He ends up landing a good left hand, and then Santos hits that body kick again, which stung Johnny Walker in the second round. Again, another very, very tight round. You could easily give either of these rounds to both fighters, and I think in fairness you could probably say that this last 5 minutes, this last round, was make or break for either fighter. As we get to the coaches, John Kavanagh, the coach of Johnny Walker, essentially tells him that these five minutes are the most important 5 minutes of his career. And he comes out straight away going for the leg kick, and goes to land some big shots, but Santos is able to avoid, circle out of the way. Walker goes for the question mark kick, which is off by quite a way, and Santos lands a heavy leg kick and then follows that up with a overhand right which lands, and then hits him with another one. Walker is starting to redden up, but he's certainly taking these shots in his stride, not showing a lot of pain. Another body kick from Santos to Walker's midsection, but Walker's just got one direction go. He just keeps going forward. Going into the last minute of fight, and we see Walker trying to land a lot of big combinations. And none of the two fighters in the melee are able to land anything huge. But finally, and it only took 14 minutes, 40 seconds for Santos, he's able to land a big head kick. Johnny Walker goes for the cartwheel kick, which is unsuccessful. When then the fight rounds out with pretty much both guys just attempting wild strikes, and we go to the judges. All three judges give the fight to Thiago Santos. Three rounds to 2, 48-47 all the way across the board. And he calls out, essentially he doesn't really call out any fighters. He calls out the company to give him a new contract. He's obviously having a baby with Yana Kunitskaya, so he wants to secure his family life. And he's saying to the UFC, "Come on, let's talk. Let's sign up a deal." I can't see them not doing. He's certainly still a huge name in that lightweight division, and certainly somebody who could definitely be challenging the winner of the upcoming fight between Jan Blachowicz and Glover Teixeira in the very, very near future. But yep, that's UFC Fight Night, Walker versus Santos, all wrapped up. But that's not the end of the action. We'll be coming fast next week with another Fight Night, this time headlined by Mackenzie Dern and Marina Rodriguez. And on the undercard, we've got Randy Brown taking on Jared Gooden, Tim Elliott versus Mateus Nicolaou, Sabina Mazo versus Maria Agapova, Phil Hawes versus Darren Wynn. So tune in next week to hear all the fallout and the action from that show. But that's all from me for this week. So you can follow me on Twitter at PodfatherMags. You can follow Carlos, who has been kicking ass in university, kicking ass in training, and unfortunately something has to give, and he's unable to record, but he'll be back very, very soon, so definitely go and follow him at Kirby_Carlos, and certainly go and follow and check out the content on the amazing networks that we're a part of right here at Visionaries Global Media, The Chair Shot, and of course on Radio Tekkers. But thank you all for listening, and that is the end.